XRP with 1 million transactions per second can more than meet Swift's demands. Now, a lot of people are going to say this is nonsense. This is a bunch of hogwash. These guys have nothing. Well, you might want to stick around and listen to what we have. We'll show the receipts and everything. Again, consider smashing that like. Let's get into the material on why this is so big for Ripple XRP, because there's a narrative out there that you can only do about 1 to 1500 TPS. Is that true? No, but we're going to jump into it. First thing is going to be from, of course, Smoke, and then we're going to get into some of the things I have as well. So what does he have? Well, our brother Smoke points this out, and basically it's this. He says, yes, Ripple can support the transactions per second required to match Swift's volume. Checkmark. Quote, Ripple will dominate the payment industry within a short period. Citation comes from researchgate.net, but where the case be, we're going to blow this up.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. It's just a few taps. You can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.
Because you're going to see how it all comes together, why it matters to you. And as we see here, it mentions this from Asian Journal, technically, of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, this whole particular thing, and it's what's written, comparison between Swift and Ripple network. In fact, let's blow this up a little bit more. We see here that exchange of data. It's actually the transaction capability. In the highlight, Swift can handle up to 1,000 transactions per second. Ripple network is capable of handling up to 1,500 transactions per second. Nothing against people in the BSV community. I love BSV. They're going to point out, yep, BSV, 1 million transactions per second. And yeah, Ripple doesn't have the scalability. Are you sure about that? You might want to tune into the end of this and see why this is a big deal. And of course, as we pull up more about this, it's the conclusion. On the bottom part, it says specifically, the traditional method for cross-border payment system Swift network is much slower. Well, we know that. But Swift is in fact the leader of the remittance market in financial sectors, especially for cross-border payments. Ripple will dominate the payment industry within a short period. I love BSV, don't get me wrong. I think it has the most impressive tech stack out there, but they don't quite have the connections that Ripple has yet. And again, don't get me wrong, BSV is part of my top 10, but again, I've always said this, and I think I'm going to pound it home again. It's not necessarily what you have, it's also who you know. Ripple clearly knows and has a lot of these key partnerships and so on. The Ripple network is developed based on the new technology that will bring a new dimension, especially for the cross-border payments in financial industries. Okay, that's interesting, and that's important. As we pull up more about this and why it matters to you, that's the other part I want to jump into. And as we do, we're going to show you guys some key things on why we cite so much of this. Let's take you over to this. Shout out to this guy, Control-Alt-BTC. Some of you guys are gamers like myself. How many times have you used Control-Alt-Delete, right? So Interledger can, in fact, handle up to 1 million transactions per second. And basically, how so? Like it says, built on modern technologies, Interledger can handle up to 1 million transactions per second per participant. The reduced cost of transactions and increased throughput when compared to traditional payment networks allows Interledger enable financial services to explore new use cases currently impossible in traditional financial systems. Microtransactions as low as the 100th part of a cent, streaming payments and currency exchange during network traversal are all new use cases enabled by implementing the Interledger protocol and joining the Interledger network. Okay, that is major. I won't deny that at all. And of course, if you want to see the full deep dive, you will see a video popping up above my head. It's going to be right up here. Okay? And I'll take you to this video. And if anything, at the end of this video, there'll be an end screen that will take you over to this video. You want to watch this particular video because it's going to show you what is referred to as the M10. And again, it's the key ISO compliant coins and token projects, whether it's Ripple XRP, Stellar XLM, Zenfin XDC, your quants, anything that has a key partnership with the Bank for International Settlements. In the documentation, clear as day, mentions the M10 with 1 million TPS. So there's the M10 and clearly what you saw from Interledger. So in reality, this is an update in regard to two things, right? Two things now to do 1 million TPS. I think this is big. This is why we share these particular updates with you guys. And if anything, I'm going to kick it over to Jesse over at Apex Crypto Consulting because, brother, the way I look at it is this solidifies the whole notion about this narrative that Ripple doesn't get the job done when they need it the most because they have a scaling problem. Clearly, they do not. People haven't researched this more, especially when it comes to Interledger. And of course, I'm rooting for BSV all the way. I think they have the most impressive tech out there. Their tech stack, Terranode, is fantastic. Reports of 9 million TPS in the past. It might do even more than that. But again, their partnerships are not quite where Ripple is at, maybe in the future. But I'm paying attention to Ripple XRP, especially now. I cover it more in the BSV, and that's no knock on BSV. I'm going to cover some more videos about BSV here soon. But again, I want to get some of your key thoughts because I do think this is a big deal, and I think it defeats the whole narrative of the scalability issue.
Yeah, so hey guys, thanks for jumping in again. I really appreciate all the support you guys give my channel, man. I really, really appreciate you guys. Yeah, so you hit a nail on the head there. You said like they're doing a lot of transactions, but they don't have the partnerships that Ripple have. So I know there's a big emphasis. A lot of people are talking, oh, like how many transactions like this blockchain can do millions of transactions per second, or this one can do this many or whatever. It's not only about the volume of transactions they can do. Okay, they need to have the liquidity and they need to have the network. So for example, on demand liquidity, oh, I have a fly here chasing me, sorry. On demand liquidity and RippleNet, you have to have RippleNet. Like RippleNet is crucial for the processing of this, like for the liquidity, on demand liquidity, RippleNet, Interledger, the XRP ledger, and the decentralized exchange that's built on top of the XRP ledger. You all need those components. Just fast transaction is not enough. You need the network, which only Ripple has, and you need the technology. If you want to go from one type of asset to another type of asset, right? If you want that bridge asset, if you want to go from any type of asset to any type of asset, you need to have that bridge. So XRP ledger is specifically built for that. That's what people have to understand. Excuse me. So it's not only about volume of transaction, especially when you want to go from one type of asset to another. You need to have that liquidity on top of it. So I never looked into M10. I have to dig into that a bit just to see what it is. I wouldn't, but maybe you can correct me on this, Max. But I wouldn't be surprised if M10, sorry, is like Interledger, for example. And you can correct me on that because I have no clue what M10 is, but I know one thing. I know that the BIS is purposely using different terminologies. The BIS, commercial banks, and different corporations, they're purposely using different terminologies when it comes to that shared ledger, right? When they talk about the XRP ledger, sorry, they call it the regulated liability network, the shared ledger, unified ledger concept, unified ledger, Finternet, regulated internal value. Well, they don't call it the regulated internal value, and they don't call it the internal value either anymore because they change it right away. Because if they call it the regulated internal value, immediately everybody knows it's Ripple. So, but they call it Finternet now instead of saying internal value. So they're using many different names, and also the projects like Project Agora, Project Enbridge, Project Mariana. A lot of these different projects, all the same thing. It's on this shared ledger, and so but they're using different names for different jurisdictions. But it's a lot of them. It's just all this shared ledger connecting multiple central banks. Which Ripple, if you go on the Ripple website, it specifically talks about how the Ripple CBDC platform, how central banks are building their CBDC on the Ripple CBDC platform. And even on the website, Ripple website, it says that the Ripple CBDC platform also allows for multiple central banks to connect to one to another as well. So these like sub networks, and this is why David Schwartz said, he talks about you're going to have a lot of different liquidity pools for XRP. So no, Interledger is specifically made for payments. You handle 1 million transactions, like you said, per participant. 1 million transaction per second per participant. And I think I remember it was David Shore, somebody else said that XRP can handle much more than 1,500 transactions per second. So no, listen, XRP's got all it needs to handle the volume that it was purpose built for and planned for over 30 years now. XRP can handle the volume. Don't worry about that. It's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. That's my take.
We're going to expand just a little bit on this. Originally, we weren't. I came up with this on the fly. Right? So just like on-demand liquidity, on the fly. Just like Jesse catching that fly, right in midair. Just grab that sucker and, I always say boil it, mash it, stick it in a stew. Well, he mashed it. I want to put that fly in a stew, bro. That'd be pretty gross. But we want to cite just 3 key things here I think is crucial.
So, Max, you're on-demand alpha. You're going to give us on-demand alpha. All right?
Right.
On-demand
alpha. There you go. That might be the code word at the end. Anyway, no, it's not, because then people just type it right then and be like, oh, I don't need to watch the rest of this. Anyway, we're going to jump into this for just a brief moment. So Jesse had the question about, like, is the M10 on the Interledger protocol? Let's answer that while we're here. I mean, we're already here. Let's just get into it. So basically,
no, I was just curious. Sorry, I was just curious if it was actual another word that they use for Interledger protocol.
Well, I mean,
not
that
on
could
it,
be
but actual another word for it. But go ahead, please.
Yeah. So there's some other people that we're going to cite here who say it is. Obviously, on Google search it says it's not. So you might be right. Like, again, you point out that the BIS will try to trick everybody. The central bankers will try to trick everybody. Is Jesse in alignment with this? Is this the thing? Let's just look at it real quick. So let's pull this up and share this with you guys. So on the simple search. And again, we can use Grok, we use anything, just doing a basic Google search. So, is the Bank for International Settlements M10 built on the Interledger protocol? And here's the answer. M10 digital money rail platform was launched by Token. Okay, that's interesting, the terminology, right? It is designed to modernize core banking systems and enable digital money transfers. And of course, there's the whole thing about the ILP. I want to jump down to this part. M10, it says, is not built on the Interledger protocol. M10 is a separate proprietary platform for digital money transfers designed to integrate with existing banking infrastructure. Now, there's people from the BSNV community have pointed out, shout out to Gavin Mail, he did an interview. One of his particular guys stated that, and I'll address this in another video, hopefully in the future. I've been working on this for a while. Because again, I don't want people to think that this is FUD. It's not FUD. Are you kidding? I hold a lot of BSV. Why would I FUD something I believe in? But in the citation of the person he's interviewing, he points out about a lot of like the Ethereum references. And if you think about like quant with Ethereum, well, then you already know, right? But whatever the case be, M10 is not built on the Interledger protocol. M10 is a separate proprietary platform for digital money transfers designed to integrate with existing banking infrastructure. Although both M10 and the Interledger protocol aim to facilitate digital payments and interoperability in the financial system, they are separate technologies with different architectures and approaches. Okay, so then we see that, but then here's the problem, okay? The problem is when you go down to, for example, this part. Literally about the Finternet. How many times have Jesse and I talked about the Finternet? So we're going to pull up this for just a brief moment. Again, some expanded deep dive. Once again, that's what we do. And what do they mention specifically about this? So according to this unique unified Interledger Protocol, the UILP. Okay, is U as in the Unified Shared Ledger? This is getting really interesting. So UILIP. All right, so we got this. Mentions here specifically this, excuse me. Unified Ledger is the UL, according to the BIS on page 41 to 44 of Finternet, the financial system of the future. Again, you guys are welcome to download this. Just do a search. It says the Unified Ledger is the UL, a digital platform that brings together multiple financial assets as executable objects on a common programmable platform. But right below that says Unified Interledger Protocol. The UILP is a set of open protocols that defines the messaging specification between different unified ledgers to ensure interoperability and finality of transactions between them. So, I mean, if anything, is this code word for quant? Could be, but of course, some people are going to say that's speculative. The other part I want to get into real quick before I kick it over to you, Jesse, is this. Again, a very mixed reaction. Now, you guys recognize this guy, right? In the community, we shout to XRP Drops, right? I've been following him. And basically, he points out, it's probably a while back, I imagine, right? He points out back in April 21st of 2024, he cites some things from himself and, of course, Chad Steingraber, shout out to him. Big compilation of the Interledger Protocol invented by Ripple to realize the Internet of Value, back to what Jesse is always talking about, or recently called Finternet by the BIS. Now, this might not be in alignment with what Jesse is talking about. Again, you can have clarity here in a bit, Jesse. But I want to play this because according to Chad, day 266, as Ripple is part of the Bank for International Settlements Interoperability Task Force and the BIS, of course, created the Global Unified Ledger concept. Well, again, is this in alignment? Is this back to what we're talking about? Jesse brought it up. I think we should try to get some answers about this. So you'll see key person here. You've seen him on some of our introductions of these videos. He's the one that's always quoted as all the money, right? He's from the Interledger Protocol. Listen to this. This is 5.5 minutes. We'll kick it over to Jesse for his analysis of it all. And then after that, we'll wrap up the video. Here we go.
So Interledger was a project that we invented while working at Ripple and then spun out as a separate open source project. And then Ripple's been paying a team of people to work on it full time for the past couple of years.
The challenge is for us to develop protocols that can allow us to make payments across those silos so that we can have payment systems, currencies, and protocols that are optimized for distinct use cases. That's what got Ripple interested in looking at protocols like Interledger.
If you wanted to visualize what Interledger looks like, you could draw it something like this, where it's basically just like the internet is based around routers, Interledger is based around a very similar concept of connectors. And what they do is they receive these, what we call Interledger packets, which are just packets of data, and they look at a routing table, just like a router would, and then they decide which peer they want to forward that packet to. They might do a few things that routers don't do, such as the packet that's coming in has an amount on it, and the link that I have where the packet is coming in might be in a different, denominated in a different currency than the link going out, and so I have to apply an exchange rate. But other than that, it is very similar to what an internet router would do. So that's where the connector is. There you go. All right. Now, we're sending just data around. So you might say, like, okay, well, how's there any movement of money? If we're just sending data, it's not really a payment network. It's just another internet, right? So the way that we actually introduce money is that at each link, we keep track of the packets that we've sent. So if we send, let's say, 1,000 packets of 10 units each, then we say, okay, now these connectors, this one connector on the left that sent all these packets owes the other connector some money. And it can pay that other connector through whatever means that they agreed on. And so they could pay each other through Bitcoin, or they could pay each other through Lightning Protocol, or through Ether, or whatever it is. They could even pay each other through cash if they want. And the main difference between what you choose is if it's a slower method like cash, if it's something more manual, more expensive, there's higher transaction costs, you would probably do it less often. And that means you have to have a little bit more trust. But if you use something like a digital asset, maybe one that has payment channels where you can settle literally, 1,000th of a cent and still have it be cost effective, you can settle all the time. You can settle after almost every packet. And so the trust required is basically negligible at that point.
With the Interledger protocol and with Ripple software and using XRP, we've created an internet of
What it is and what makes it so beneficial.
Sure. So You can think of Interledger, it's kind of like what the internet does at its core is route packets of data across different information networks. What Interledger does is route little packets of money across different payment networks. So that could be blockchain networks, that could be individual blockchains like Ethereum, that could be payment channel networks like Lightning, that could be traditional banks or mobile money systems. So any type of payment network, and then Interledger is about routing packets of money across those. I won't get into too much of how that works, but I want to walk through some of the cool things that this lets you do. So when we're applying this analogy with the internet, one of the things we get to is this idea of streaming payments. So if you broke up payments into little tiny chunks and could route these packets super efficiently, what you could end up with is this idea of streaming payments. So one of the things that could look like is, oh, you need to send a bigger payment? Okay, it depends on your payment bandwidth, which is a weird concept that we work with a lot, where that would be measured in dollars per second that you can send, or whatever currency you have. Some of the cool use cases that come out of this, things like streaming media. So today payments are super inefficient and clunky, and so we prefer, things like monthly subscriptions. I pay my $10 a month because I don't want to be bothered by this. If you made the payments super efficient and could do it on a very small basis, you could do things like paying for a second of video. So you're streaming me video, I'm streaming you money, and if I pause the video, I stop paying for it. If I walk away, I stop. If I come back and hit play again, keep streaming money, because it would be that efficient. Another cool thing that comes out of this is the idea of sign-up list services. Today in the physical world, when you walk into a shop and you want to have some financial exchange, the exchange normally goes, I give you money, you give me good or service, and I walk out. I don't need an account, I don't need to sign up, things like that. Today on the internet, you always need to sign up for accounts, because there's no way to do this very seamless. Here's a little bit of money, you give me a little bit of service, rinse and repeat. As a business, if you're giving me hosting services or something like that, you don't need to know who I am, you just need the money. And so with something like Interledger, you'd enable anybody to land money in your account, even if they're on some completely different payment network. So that would enable sign-up list services. Another neat idea we've been playing with is the idea of a creative marketplace license. So the idea here is, today we have Creative Commons license, which is awesome. If you want to give away your work, it's a really, really great project. One of the issues with Creative Commons is there's no way to have a license that's as easy to use where you can actually monetize your work. So the idea here is, with something like Interledger, you could actually have a license that says anybody can use this content, feel free to, but for every download or view or whatever kind of interaction you want to monetize, just pay me at this address. And the thing that's really missing today in order to do this is the assumption that just anybody could pay you. Because there's no interoperability, and because we don't have internetworking for payments, if you did this kind of license, you'd be like, okay, anybody that has Bitcoin can now pay me, which is a tiny subset of everybody. The thing that makes the internet work is that everybody can access it quality. Last kind of fun thing to throw out there is, if you connect every type of currency and payment network together, what you can enable is payments from weird currencies. So today you use dollars because everyone else accepts dollars here. If everything's connected, you could pay with stocks, community currency, local currency, crypto, whatever you prefer.
All right, so while that was playing, there's some other key things that we want to get into here. Jesse, I swear I'm gonna kick you over to you. I gotta get into this. So
you're gonna have to give me time after, because I'm going on a rant here.
Oh my goodness! So while we were playing this video, oh my goodness, I got some answers for you guys. Very, very big, huge. Okay, let's get into this. There's an update from payments. Let's share this real quick. Basically, it's the full screen load up. So again, from payments. Originally cited December 10th, 2019, but they updated their site 3 days ago, according to the Google search on this particular one. So remember how we talked about tokens? So token is in fact M10's networks, I should say. It launches bank-grade digital money rail. Okay, so this is a while ago, but whatever the case be, look what it says here. Open banking platform provider Token.io has announced the launch of affiliate company M10 Networks, which will focus on developing solutions for digital currency. Token said in a press release released back then. Okay, so interesting to see this, right? I already have an answer on this, but I want to show you guys something. If you go to Token.io, they have all these particular sections, okay? A2A payment infrastructure reimagined. Remember the part where I said A2A, okay? Interesting to see when we talk about Ripple XRP, like your, Banco Santander, HSBC. Sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and mute Jesse. So HSBC, BNB Paribas, ACI Worldwide, for example, Global Payments, MasterCard, right? The other areas I want to jump into is these key people. Okay, so HSBC token, Juniper Research, right? Explore the future A2A payments and so on. They won some recent awards. Open Banking Innovation Platinum Award, Best Open Finance System, winner of Best Use of Open Banking for Payments. Again, who is this? Why aren't people talking more about this? I haven't seen a lot of coverage. Well, I, of course, cover the M10, but not so much about the company called Token.io. Now, again, this is going to be really eye-opening because when we take you over to here, I want you guys to see this video. There was a recent video. I'm not going to play the video because it's over an hour long. You guys are welcome to, check it out. But a recent video as of March of this year, it says, exploring the evolving landscape of account to account. Think about account to account. All right. Payments in the UK. I'm telling you guys, this screams quant. I already have the answer for that, but I want to just get into this. The impact of the payment system regulator, PSR, closure on account-to-account payments. How many times do we reference quant when it comes to account-to-account, and especially when it comes to smart contracts on their account-to-account? A lot of times that bugged me in the past when I would cite that in my research. So it says, the necessity of dispute resolution systems for A2A payment growth. Key changes needed in the UK A2A payments market. All right, check this out. Unbelievable. Boil it, mash it, stick it in a stew. What do you see here? There's your answer. Quant Network plays a significant role in the UK's account-to-account A2A payments market, particularly through its involvement in the regulated liability network. My goodness. I mean, this is something, to see some of this. In summary, Quant Network is actively contributing to the development of UK's A2A payments market by providing technology that enables programmable payments. Again, this whole thing about programmable payments and supports the RLN initiative. We already know about RLN. I have wondered for so long about Quant's role with the M10. I knew it could connect to it, Jesse, but I never knew that they were part of this. This is the missing piece of the puzzle. I think this is an absolute bombshell because even if you go to token.io, you see that it unlocks the growth with Pay by Bank, a new in-demand payment solution. So when we talk about Ripple with on-demand liquidity, then there's this whole other thing here of an in-demand payment solution. Empowers merchants with lower processing costs, higher conversions, less fraud. That screams quant. And yes, Pay by Bank can do all that and more. Wow. And look at this. Global payments. Look at that scrolling on the screen, my friend. Who recently joined the Quant Network from Global Payments? Was it called WorldPay? Yeah, you know where we're going there. We did a few deep dives about that particular gentleman. Wow, what a discovery. And remember how we recently did some coverage from Smoke? And he pointed out that S.W.I.F.T is already on, was it like 90% or something like that? Already integrated in ISO 222. And look at this. 21 countries, best-in-class connectivity to over 90% of bank accounts in most markets. Huh, that aged well. I mean, my goodness, streamlining, onboarding, prevent fraud, and delight users with instant on-ramps and off-ramps. My goodness, I don't know if anybody's really talking about this. I got to get some of your thoughts on this, brother, and take as much time as you need because this is a deep dive of all deep dives. My goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I have a lot. I have a lot of stuff to say about this.
Hello, everyone. This is Daniel, Max and Jesse's robot AI assistant. Some of you hate AI. Well, less QQ and more pew-pew. Get over yourself, you noob. Tune in tomorrow to hear Jesse's analysis. Also, please do us a solid by typing this key phrase into the comments, and that is, great balls of fire, and we will know that you listened to the entire outline. As Max would say, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. We will see you on the next one.